Hi, welcome and welcome back, episode 8. I'm Cindy and this is Speak Up or Submit. So today's episode is going to be an introduction to somebody named Ray Blanchard, somebody who has done very important research in the field of gender identity disorders. And I want to talk about not only his research and what his findings have said, but I also want to tie it in and look at some of the research that trans organizations have done and why it is very problematic that transgender women are being allowed and perpetuated to infiltrate women's spaces or to be allowed to be in women-only spaces. So Ray Blanchard, he joined the Gender Identity Clinic at the Clark Institute of Psychiatry in 1980. And that institute is now known as the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto, Ontario. And most of his research focused on either transsexualism or gender identity disorders. And based on all the research that he did, he essentially came down to two conclusions about transgender women. So men who want to be women or present themselves as women. He said, one, they are either homosexual, so they're either gay males and are attracted to men, or two, they are aroused at the idea of them being men, but they are straight and they are attracted to females. So it falls more in the lines of like a fetish, so autogynephilia.
I use something that was from one of the early typologies from Magnus Hirschfeld, the guy who invented the word transvestism. And so I divided the biological males into homosexual according to biological sex. You know, when I say homosexual in relation to transsexual, I mean you're interested in the same chromosomal sex as yourself. So in Hirschfeld's typology had been homosexual, heterosexual, asexual, and bisexual. So my strategy was to divide the biological males into these four groups and then compare them on a variety of variables. And my conclusion from that was that they boiled down to two basic types. One we might call homosexual, and one we might call non-homosexual. The non-homosexuals were the heterosexuals, the bisexuals, and the asexuals. They were more similar with regard to age at presentation, with regard to early childhood signs of cross-gender identity, with regard to acknowledging some history of sexual arousal with cross-dressing. So I said, okay, these three groups, asexual, bisexual, and heterosexual, these are really subtypes of heterosexual transsexualism. And these guys are all different from the homosexual transsexuals who presented at a very young age, who rarely gave any self-report that seemed like sexual arousal with cross-gender ideation.
And that research was very upsetting, has been very upsetting to the trans community because they don't want it to be a sexual fetish or a sexual disorder. They want it to be a reality that they actually are born in the wrong body. But what I find interesting is that there was research done by TransPop, which is U.S. Transgender Population Health Survey, and they screened over 400,000 individuals. Out of those, there were 929 that were eligible to be, that were considered transgender, and then 274 of those folks actually cooperated to participate in this survey. And the purpose of the survey was to have them represent different issues relating to the transgender community. So when I came across this research, what I found most interesting is that transgender women, men, right? We're talking about men, is that the number one sex that they are attracted to are women. Yet we're being told, oh, you're just paranoid, or why do you have a problem with them being in your spaces? Or why do you have a problem with them accessing your restrooms? Well, based off the research of Ray Blanchard, who has over 20 years of research, a lot of them are straight men and they're attracted to women. So that's why I have a problem with it. And then when I look at TransPop, They themselves are disclosing that the sex that they are most attracted to are women. So then I started looking even more into it, and I went and found a study that talks about, okay, well, of transgender men and women, how many of them get the surgeries, either the top surgery or the bottom surgery. And transgender women, a very small percentage of them get that surgery. It says 4 to 13% actually get the genital surgery, meaning they remove their penis and their other parts and they have it converted into some fake vagina. So piecing this together is why it is extremely concerning for us as women to not want men, whether they're transgender women or not, in our spaces. Most of them are going to have their penis. Most of them are going to be attracted to women. And most of them, it is a sexual fetish where they are aroused at the thought of being and looking like a woman, but they still are attracted to actual real women. That is a concern for us women, for girls, for our daughters, for our nieces, for our mothers, our sisters. This is a problem for all of these women, that we are now being forced to share spaces with men who are attracted to us and they still have their genitals. I think I've said this before in a past video. What was the point of ever having separate spaces if there's no harm with having both sexes share the same spaces? Ask yourselves that. There was a reason why. We as women have a right to privacy, and we have a right to not being put in vulnerable positions. I'm sorry, but when you are in the restroom, that is a vulnerable position. You are partially getting naked. You are now being forced to be partially naked with a man who has his penis and is most likely attracted to you. And that's why it's important that we be informed about the people who actually have a deep understanding about what it is that we are facing, like Ray Blanchard. Yet they've made him out to be a pariah just because of the fact that his findings are saying, hey, this is a sexual fetish. They are not really trapped in the wrong body. And as a matter of fact, when he was working at the gender clinic, he himself recommended that very few go on hormones or even have sex reassignment surgeries. He said that they would only see about 50 patients a year, so they would turn away most people, and that very few, that he would reject most. Even this individual, a researcher, who his field has been to look at transsexualism, gender identity disorders, be very well informed about it. Even he himself does not agree with allowing minors. And he even himself at that gender clinic imposed a minimum age for hormone therapy to be 20 years old and surgical treatment to be 21 years old. And I would think that didn't come about accidentally, but that came about because he understood that there are irrevocable consequences of choosing either or both of those treatment methods for an individual. Yet here we are allowing this to be done with children. Please look him up yourself. Don't just take my word for it. We have to speak up against this in whatever way we can so that we can take back our spaces, so we can take back women's rights, privacy, not have them eradicated. I also want to share that there's a bill. This is what we are opening the door to. Sorry, this is something else. It's a little bit off tangent, but it's like trying to show the connections between a web of how when we open the door to one thing, all of a sudden we're allowing the door to be open to so many other things. So men who say that they're women, they want to be able to have access to our places. They want to be able to have the same rights that we do. They want to be considered women. Well, guess what else they're wanting to do? In Maine, the Senate just passed a bill called H4750, where they're going to remove the word father and mother on the birth certificates, and mother is going to be replaced with person who gave birth. So this is sitting on the governor's desk to be signed as a law. that all children going forward, there's not going to be mother on their birth certificate. It's going to have person who gave birth. Now tell me that they are not trying to eradicate women. We all know that one of the biggest differentiators between a man and a woman is that we can give birth and they cannot. And that is why we have the word mother attached to us, because only women can be mothers. A father can never be a mother. A man can never be a mother. A male can never be a mother. And so transgenderism, transsexualism, all of this is opening the door to womanhood and everything that is associated with it being eradicated. So folks, wake up. We all need to be tired of this. This is not healthy or productive or suitable for society. So please speak up, and even if it's a small way, inform your children. Let them know, hey, we treat everybody with kindness and respect, but this is the truth. There are only two sexes. Anybody who says otherwise, they are confused. Make sure that we're having those conversations. Form alliances with other people who are like-minded, other parents maybe of kids at your school, maybe your cousins, maybe your friends, so that we can be stronger together. I am certain that this is going to eventually turn around. I don't know when, but either way, whenever it happens, a lot of damage has been done and more damage is going to continue to happen until then. Women, our rights are going to continue to be eroded. Children, they're going to continue to be sacrificed, and confusion is going to continue to be rampant throughout. And so any person out there that you are on this side of truth and what is real and what is objective, please form a community, be in touch, share information with each other. We are powerful when we have information, when we have knowledge, but we still have hope and we still have time to not let the narrative that is being perpetuated by those with the loudest voices be what rings true. I hope you'll share this video. Please leave comments. I would like to know, what are your thoughts? Did you know about this person, Ray Blanchard? Did you even know about the term autogynephilia? If you do have kids, I hope that this is very concerning for you and that this is something that you are not passive about, because your child is in the danger of being infected by this mode of thinking. So thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe. Have a lovely day. Bye.